Captain Marvel has flown into theaters and has photon blasted her way into our hearts. What does Captain Marvel mean for the Marvel Cinematic Universe at large? I'm Kris Carr, and today I'm breaking down how Captain Marvel fits into the MCU. Before we jump in, I want to give a shout out to one of our super nerd sponsors, Kevin Brown, for making today's video possible. Thanks, Kevin! You fine citizens of the internet who have graced us with your Singles, Lincolns, and other dead presidents are keeping the lights on here at Nerdwire. Want to donate? Head to our Patreon page and see which tier works for you. We'll give you shout-outs, behind-the-scenes looks, and more to show our gratitude. And don't forget, one of the biggest ways you can help us is by liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon to make sure you're notified about all of our videos. Now, I've seen Captain Marvel, y'all, and I'm gonna be talking about what happens in the movie. Big things, huge spoilers. If you wanna go into that movie fresh as a daisy, you're gonna wanna watch a different video. I'm starting out with lighter spoilers and moving forward. Don't worry, before the big one, I'll let you have an extra warning.
Nick Fury, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
First of all, the question we've been asking since he walked into Tony Stark's life. How did Nick Fury lose that eye? Well, we finally get an explanation to that. Alien skirmish. Really a cat closet out. Yep, the Nick Fury of the MCU lost his eye to a tabby. But this isn't your ordinary domesticated house cat. Goose, previously known as Chewie in the comics, happens to be what's known as a flerkin. Comic fans will tell you that Rocket Raccoon was the first to point out that Carol Danvers' pet was more than met the eye and tried to kill it before it could lay eggs. Now can we talk about Nick Fury's deep love of cats and how it ultimately fails him? This is why you can't trust cats, people.
Aren't you the cutest little thing? Aren't you cute?
Let's talk about flerkins for a second. These Earth 58163 creatures have access to pocket dimensions inside their bodies. In these sort of space bubbles, they can store anything. It's all just hammer space. They also use these subspaces as a means of instantaneous transport. Retrieving stuff from inside these pockets, though, has gotta be disgusting, as we learn from the second post-credits scene.
Oh, that is nasty.
So, we know from the film that Goose housed the Tesseract inside his tum-tum. And while this tied Captain Marvel into the previous Marvel phases, Thor, Avengers, etc., I'm left with a very important question. Does Goose live with Nick forever? Can we get a Turner and Hooch movie about that? While we're on the Tesseract, let's do a quick timeline recap. So in Captain America, the first Avenger, the Tesseract is used to power enhance weaponry against the Allies. In the post-credits scene, we learn that Howard Stark finds the cube and gives it to S.H.I.E.L.D., where it's kept until Loki steals it. What happened between then and Captain Marvel that a Kree scientist had it aboard her orbiting space lab? Does everyone just get time with the Tesseract? Is that like an Avengers hazing ritual? Well, it looks like Project Pegasus was actually a joint effort with S.H.I.E.L.D. and NASA. In Avengers, Eric Selvig was studying the Tesseract in the subterranean Project Pegasus facility. I'm still wrapping my brain around this, as so much of the government report was redacted and Fury seemed to know nothing about the project. That being said, he was a lower-level operative at the time. Perhaps Marvel and S.H.I.E.L.D. were in cahoots the whole time? Let me know if that seems like a stretch to you. Before I move on to Endgame, I do want to touch on a major spoiler. Seriously, if you're still here and haven't seen the movie, I'm gonna straight up ruin it. Don't at me in the comments either, people. I'm being so straightforward with you.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys.
To discuss this twist, I've got to give you a little backstory on the Kree-Skrull War, which is a major factor in the events of Captain Marvel.
You're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
The Kree are a militaristic alien race from the planet Hala, who were led by an AI, the Supreme Intelligence. In the comics, the Supreme Intelligence is basically just a big ol' floating head in a tank that was formed from the brains of the race's greatest thinkers before their death. In Captain Marvel, the Supreme Intelligence appears before a person in the form of someone they most admire. For Brie Larson's Vers, that character is played by Annette Bening, who is brilliant at both her Dr. Lawson portrayal and being this creepy-ass AI.
Intelligence.
Your commander insists that you're fit to serve.
I am.
You struggle with your emotions.
You might be wondering from the previews how Brie and Law are playing Krees. Aren't those the blue guys we've seen, like Ronan the Accuser, and all those baddies on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well, in the comics, the more purebred a Kree is, the bluer they are. Now here, I'm assuming that if you're paying all that money to have Jude Law in a movie, you don't want to cover him head to toe in blue. Name recognition and face recognition. It should also be noted that the Kree are responsible for creating Inhumans. Where are they in this movie? It's their whole thing.
What did you do?
The Skrull Empire has taken possession of your planet.
I will require S.H.I.E.L.D.'s full surrender.
Skrulls are green-skinned, pointy-eared shapeshifters. Due to their abilities, they've usually been intertwined with conspiracy-heavy storylines, like Secret Invasion, where you discover many Marvel heroes have been replaced with these sketchy shifters.
I'm here to stop the shapeshifters that are infiltrating your planet.
They're the long-standing enemy of the Kree, and a standard on the side of Marvel villainy, especially in Fantastic Four storylines. The Kree-Skrull War is a staple in Marvel Comics, and incredibly interesting. The war is most famously depicted in Avengers issues number 89 through 97, a year-long run that introduced themes such as Scarlet Witch and Vision's romance, and allegories to the McCarthy trials. I seriously think you should read up on it if you haven't. You've got the internet, go find it, dude! These two alien races have always mostly been depicted as bad, particularly the Skrulls.
One victim of the Skrull expansion that has threatened our civilization for centuries. Imposters who silently infiltrate.
That's why it was so fascinating to see another side to the Skrulls in this movie, and make them the victims of the Kree's expanding empire. Well, obviously this plot twist works in a sort of She-Ra, I didn't know we were the baddies way, that's supposed to make us feel for Carol. What I think it does even better is shows us the horrors of war, who can become the casualties of conquest, and definitely sets the MCU apart from the omnibuses hardcore fans of Red. I loved the decision to take a stand firmly against the Kree. It especially makes sense since we know in Guardians they're a race with a pretty bloody past and extremist tendencies. And I mean, can you really trust anyone who lets a robot call the shots? While this is definitely a self-contained origin story, the film directly brings us into Avengers Endgame. In the first post-credits scene, we see that Nick's beeper he used to call Captain Marvel at the end of Infinity War, the one Carol upgraded for him, is no longer putting out a signal.
Well done.
Remaining Avengers Black Widow, Cap, War Machine, and Bruce Banner discuss getting the signal back up and running, and then BAM! Captain Marvel shows up asking, "Where's Fury?" We established in the film that this is a long-distance beeper used only for the craziest of emergencies. So, obviously Carol knows this is a big deal. I'm assuming that this is actually a scene in the film as well, like we've seen with Ant-Man teasing Civil War, and Doctor Strange cluing us into his Ragnarok role. After the events of Infinity War, we knew we had to get Carol into the fray somehow. As the film proved, Captain Marvel is one of, if not the most powerful super in the Marvel Universe. And the team is gonna need that kind of heavy hitter if there is any hope whatsoever of taking down Thanos.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
This also makes me wonder about a few things though. Has Carol been traveling with the Skrulls this whole time? Fighting with the Kree? Negotiating with the Kree on peace treaties? Did she ever venture back to Earth to visit her best friend and all-around badass Maria Rambeau or her daughter Monica? Side quest, the fact that they included a little kid version of Monica blew me away. For those not in the know, she's also taken up the mantle of Captain Marvel, been an Avenger, and usually goes by Spectrum. Nice to know we're setting up Marvel phases for the next 10 years.
How do I look? Fresh.
What happened since 1995 with Carol? I'm particularly interested in that gap because Ronan made a point to say he was coming back for the woman. Why include that? We know in the current timeline that Ronan is dead, so are we going to see some flashbacks to battles between them? A Captain Marvel sequel in the early aughties? If Endgame does in fact have a time travel element, is that something we'll see play out? We know thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy that the Kree get a little less bloodlusty over time. They appear to have been losing their battles and even go as far as to begin signing treaties with other empires. In Guardians, we mostly focus on the Xandarian Empire Treaty and how Ronan views it as a betrayal of the Kree people.
Because I obey the ancient laws of my people, the Kree, and punish those who do not.
Other Krees call him an extremist, so we can tell that the political tone of the Krees has definitely altered since the 1990s. Perhaps we'll explore that shift in films to come, regardless of what decade they occurred in.
1,000 years of war between us will not be forgotten.
Also, how the hell did Korath survive?
Who?
Give me your theories. Did Ronan just scoop him up from space and try to Humpty Dumpty him? I'm stumped.
Ronan may have questions for you.
Here's what I'm really interested in though, guys. Now that the MCU has Skrulls, what are they gonna do with them? I briefly mentioned Secret Invasion before, and I think a storyline of Skrulls living amongst us would be so awesome on screen. What are your thoughts on Captain Marvel? How do you believe it'll connect to Endgame? Let me know in the comments below. I'm mostly just excited to go see it again and scream sing Celebrity Skin with Whitney. Be sure to like and subscribe, and for more Marvel videos, click to the left of my face. A big thank you once again to our patrons on Patreon, and thank you for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.